Right, hello there ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's video we've got for you. And today we're having a slightly different look at these PS4s. And today isn't so much a technical thing, but more an instructional video. And it's to do with how to upgrade your hard drive on your PlayStation 4 and port all your data and application data, save games, themes, video captures and everything from your old drive to your new drive. And this was born out because a few people have asked, and they've also asked for some teardown videos and things like that, so we'll see what we can do. So yeah, like I said, this isn't the usual technical spiel that you're going to find on this channel, but it should be interesting nonetheless. So what we're going to do is today we are going to upgrade the 500GB hard disk drive inside this PS4, and we're going to change it out for a 2TB version. Now that isn't particularly complicated process, as you'll see, but it's just knowing where everything is, and of course planning ahead to make sure that this all goes through as smoothly as is physically possible. So what are you going to need? Well, you're going to need your PS4, of course, with its original hard drive that you want to back up. This particular one is plugged into the TV with the controller and everything already synced up, and you're going to need a few more things. So, you're also going to need your brand new hard drive. So this is a brand new sealed 2TB Samsung SpinPoint hard disk drive. You're going to need a USB stick storage device with about a gig of free space on there. You are going to need a mid-size sort of Phillips screwdriver. And you are also going to need a hard drive. Now you're going to need a fairly big one. If you've got a 500GB PlayStation and the drive is full and you want to take everything with you, then you're going to need to make sure that this thing has at least 500GB of free space on it. If you've got a larger disk, say you've got a 1TB PS4 and that's full, and you want to port that over to say a 2 or a 4TB disk, then again you are going to need a hard drive with at least 1TB of space on it. And this one here is just a USB based hard disk drive. This one is a USB 3.0 based one, so it should be a bit quicker. Now, in a word on the old hard drives, I believe a 4TB one will work, and as low as a 250GB one will work. So if you've got a faulty disk and you're just wanting to get it up and running and you're not particularly bothered about size, then a 250GB disk will work, but that's the smallest the PS4 will accept. Any smaller than that and it's not going to happen for you. So as long as you've got something that's at least 250GB in size, you should be able to do this process. So what we're going to do is we are going to start off by making sure that our PS4 is on the same firmware as the one that we'll be going to, because of course, for anybody who doesn't know, when you upgrade a hard drive on a PS4, it involves reinstalling the operating system or firmware or whatever you'd like to call it, system software as Sony would term it, on your PlayStation. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to reprogram the new hard drive with all the necessary bits and pieces that the PlayStation needs to operate. And basically what you're going to have to do is you are going to have to jump on an internet enabled computer or a laptop, and you are going to need to download that. So we'll show you what you need to do with that and where you need to get it from and how to prepare your USB stick and indeed your portable hard disk drives should you have them. But that's the first thing we're going to do here. So we're going to jump on PlayStation.com and we're going to show you where you can find the update. So bear with me a second, guys, and we'll go ahead and do that. Right, okay then, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to go ahead now and we're going to find our necessary bits and pieces to upgrade the firmware on our PlayStation. So what we're going to do is we are going to take the USB stick. As I say, you're going to want one with at least a gigabyte of free space on it. And you are going to want to insert that into a free USB port on your machine. And if you get a window like that up, you can close that down, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into My Computer, or this PC as it's termed on Windows 8 and above, And then you are going to want to go down to your USB driver. So in my case, that's this one here. So this is an 8 gig stick, and I do have the PlayStation software on this USB stick normally, but you probably don't. You probably don't have that. So if you don't have the PlayStation stuff on your stick, the first thing you're going to want to do is format it. And the reason you're going to need to do that is because the PlayStation 4 looks for a FAT32 formatted USB stick when you insert it into the front to reinstall the operating system. So in order to get it to FAT32, what you need to do is locate your USB stick just there in my computer or this PC or whatever it is on your particular machine. You're going to want to right click it and go down to Format. And then on Format, as you can see, you need to make sure that the file system there is selected as FAT32. Default allocation unit size 4096 bytes or default, because those two are the same. I like to give my volume label something, that I can identify the USB stick by when I plug it in, but that isn't necessary. You can leave that blank, or as new volume, or whatever the hell it might happen to be in your particular instance. And make sure you tick this quick format box here. There really is no need to sit there and wait for an hour while it formats. You will get a little warning there prompting you to confirm that you want to do that. Click OK. And within a matter of seconds, hopefully, you will get a message to say that your stick has been successfully formatted. And there we go. So it says format complete. We'll OK that. And we'll close the format window. So now you can see we have a USB stick, which is entitled PS4 USB. It's got 8 gig of free space on it, which is more than enough. And you can see now that our folder is empty. So what we're going to want to do now is create a small folder structure on this USB stick that our PlayStation will understand. Basically, this is where it looks for the update when it goes to reapply it. So what we need to do is we need to create a new folder. So that's right click, go to new folder, and in capital letters we need to make sure that this folder is called PS4. So no spaces, nothing in there like that, just PS4. And then go inside that folder, and we're going to create another folder. So again, right click, go across to new folder, and this time in capital letters we're going to type the word update and press enter to confirm that. So as you can see now, inside our USB stick we've got a folder called PS4, and inside that folder we've got another folder called update, and then we've got nothing currently in that folder there. So the next thing we need to do is we need to launch our web browser, so whatever you happen to use, and we are going to search for the PlayStation 4 firmware. So in order to do that, we're just going to type in PlayStation 4 System Software. And the URL you're looking for is this one there, that's the third one down. And that URL is there, so that's https://, it's www.playstation.com /enus if you're after the English version, /support/system-updates/PS4. And like I say, I'm in the UK, but this is the same as to whether you are in the UK or the US or anywhere else. And you will notice that you can get hold of the latest version of the OS. And basically we want to make sure, because this is the version we will be mandatorily upgrading to, that the software on our current disk that's already in the PlayStation is also on here, because if you have mismatched versions, it's not ideal, let's put it that way. So if we make sure that we're on the same software on the old drive and new, if we need to try and get anything back or swap the disks out later, it should be a little bit of a smoother process going forwards. So what we need to do is don't go ahead and click that one, but select your language, and then you want this link here. So do you want to perform a fresh install of the full system software? If so, then click here, go ahead and click there. The reason being that this version is around 800 odd megabytes. The other version is about 200 odd. The larger update contains absolutely everything the PlayStation needs to reinstall to a brand new hard disk. The smaller one is basically an incremental update which only updates what's already there. Now of course we are going to a brand new hard disk which has nothing on it, so we need everything. So as you can see there, it says perform a new installation of the system software. And if you go a little bit further down the screen, you can see there that it's telling you about the folders of the structure you need on your USB stick, which of course we've already done. So we just need to hit this download now button. And there we go. So you can see there it's called psupdate.pup, and we are going to save that to our USB stick. So of course we find our PS4 USB, we go into PS4, we go into the update folder, and we hit save on there, and you will notice now that our software update will download to our USB stick. And basically what we need to do then is, once that's finished, we just need to eject the USB stick there so we can safely remove it from the system without corrupting any data, and then we need to insert that USB stick into our PlayStation. So we'll join us back at the camera and the TV, and we can watch and see what we need to do from this point. Right, okay, so now we have our USB stick prepared with our brand new version 3.15 firmware on there, or the latest version at the time of you watching this video, whenever that may be. And then what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to upgrade the software on our PS4, which is already on there. So what we need to do is we will take our USB stick and we will plug it into a spare port on the front of our PlayStation. Now that's in there, we're going to fire it up, as you normally would do. Okay, so we're going to log in with the default user account there. And we're going to go across to settings, and then down to system, and we're going to go into system information. And as you can see on this particular machine, we're on software version 3.15 already, so that's good. If we weren't, and we needed to update things, then what we would need to do is come out of there, and we go from settings to system software update. And what would happen there is the PlayStation would actually detect our USB stick with the latest firmware in there and offer to take us through the wizard to install it. So just follow that and make sure you're on the latest 3.15 firmware. Once you are, your machine will reboot. Right, okay, next job. Once we've got everything upgraded and we're back into the OS, what we need to do is obviously go down to settings and confirm that we are on the latest system software. So back into system information, and as I say, on this machine we were already on 3.15, but if you've just run through the upgrade process, then of course just make sure that indeed yours reads 3.15 there. Once you've done that, we need to make sure and see how much information we already have on our existing PS4 hard drive. So to do that, we come out of the system menu and we go back up to system storage management. And as you can see there, we have 406 gigs on this particular machine. We have free space of 222.7 gig. So we've got around 185 gig-ish of data, which is currently taking up space in our hard drive. So we're going to want at least sort of 200, 250 gig on our USB hard drive to back things up to make sure we've comfortably got enough space on there to let the backup procedure run correctly. So now we've done that and we know how much space we need on our hard drive, we can go ahead and power down our PlayStation because we're done there for now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to prepare our USB storage device, our mass storage device, our USB hard drive, with the folder structure and the necessary bits and pieces that we need in order to ensure that our PlayStation can see it and start to back data up to it. So join us back at the PC and we'll go do that now. Right, okay, so go ahead and connect your USB hard disk drive to your PC or laptop or whatever it is you've got, and go back into my computer, or this PC as it's known on Windows 8 and above. And what you're going to want to do is locate that USB hard drive there. So as we can see, this is our USB hard disk drive. I have a 1 terabyte one, and I've got 455 gigs of free space on this hard drive. and that is more than enough, of course, for the 185 gigs of data we need to back up off this particular machine. You will notice that the file system on my drive is NTFS, but as you can see, this drive has all my other bits and pieces on it, and it already has a lot of data backed up on there, and I don't really want to go affecting that data. So what I can do instead is close my computer, and I can right click on my computer or this PC and hit this manage option. And this will load up a screen called computer management. We're going to full screen that, and we're going to jump down to under the storage header for disk management. And that will take a second or two, and then what that does is that goes away and analyzes all the drives and the partitions on your drives. And there we go. And if we look down here under disk 2, we can see our USB 3.0 hard disk drive at 1 terabyte with the 931.51 gigabyte of usable space on there. Of course, we've got 455 gigabytes of free space on that drive, but it's all one partition currently. So what we need to do is we need to create a partition or an area of our USB hard drive which our PlayStation can use to store its data without affecting anything else we might have on that hard disk. Now, of course, if you've just got a blank USB hard disk for this purpose, or it's just a spare one you've had kicking around, then you don't have to worry about this. But if in my instance, you've already got one and it's already got a fair bit of stuff on it, then it's best to do this to make sure that you can't do any damage to any important data you might already have on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to shrink volume, and it'll take a second or two to think about it. So we want to type in here, and enter the amount of space to shrink in megabytes. We need to convert the number of gigabytes that we have on our PlayStation to megabytes. So a megabyte is essentially 1,000th of a gig. So you've got 1,000 megabytes to a gigabyte. Well, technically it's 1,024, but we'll not worry about that. So essentially we add 185 gigs of information on our existing PlayStation hard drive, but we want to give it a little bit more than that, because when it's formatted and things like that, that will take up a little bit of space, and we want to make sure we've comfortably got enough room. So we're going to create a 300 gigabyte partition on our disk, and to do that, so we want 300 gigabytes, and because this is in megabytes, and as I say, 1,000 megabytes is in a gigabyte, we want to times that by 1,000. So 300 times 1,000 is 300,000. And then we hit shrink. And you can see now that we have a 292.97 gigabyte partition on our USB hard drive. We're going to right click that and go to New Simple Volume. Press Next. Press Next. Press Next again. And here we want to format the volume with the following settings. We want to select exFAT or FAT32 depending on the size of your partition. If FAT32 is an option, use it. It's probably not going to be though, so use exFAT. Volume label doesn't particularly matter. You can leave it as is, but I'm just going to put PS4 data just so we can identify what's on that volume going forwards. And again, you only need a quick format. Hit Next and then click Finish. And there you can see our new partition is on our hard drive, our USB hard drive, and there's nothing on it. And it's blank. If we go back to my computer, or this PC, you can see there now that we have another drive letter called PS4 data with 292 gig free on our hard disk drive. That's great. So what we're going to want to do now is come down here and safely eject that storage device. And now we can unplug that. And we can go back to our PS4 and begin to back up the data from our old hard drive. So join me back there and we'll show you what to do. Okay, so now we've got our USB hard disk drive prepared. We're going to go ahead and just plug that into the first USB port on the front of our PlayStation 4. Like so. And then you want to power the machine up. So you can either do that from the controller or by the power button on the front, of course. So go into the main user account and forget that message there about the USB storage device cannot be used. You can see there the file system is not supported. That is in reference to the primary partition on our disk there, so that's basically the partition where I've got all my stuff that's already on there. So you can ignore that if you've got a hard drive and you've had to create a partition on it as we've done. If you've got a blank disk and you formatted it with FAT32 or exFAT, don't worry about it, you won't see that. But as I say, if you do have a big disk and you want to reuse it as I've done, and you've had to create an exFAT or a FAT32 partition, be aware that if you've got any NTFS partitions also on the same disk, you might very well see that message. But you can go ahead and ignore it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go down to Settings. And we are going to go down to the option that says System. And we're going to go back to the option called Backup and Restore. We're going to elect to backup our PS4. And what that's going to go away and do is you can see the spinning wheel in the top right corner. That's going to go away and poll our existing hard disk drive for the particular data that it's got on there. So as you can see now, we have 13.5 megabytes of captures, 280 megabytes of save data, 3.28 megabytes of settings, and 185.2 gigs of application data. Now we want to take all of that, and as you can see there on the right hand side it says free space after backing up is 129.1 gigabytes. So of course, a quick bit of maths, that equates roughly to 300 gigabytes, which of course is the size of the partition we created on our USB hard disk, which is great. So now we're confident that it's seeing the correct partition on our USB hard disk that we want to back up to, and it's found all of our data and we want to take the lot. Just as a quick note there, you can see if you go up you can untick applications, and that will basically prevent any application data coming with you if you don't want to back that up. If you don't have that much room on your USB storage device, of course, you can go ahead and untick that, but we want to take the lot. We want to take everything. So we're going to leave that ticked, and then we're going to hit Next. And you can see there now, the total size of our backup is 185.5 gigs, and you can give your PS4 a description, your backup a description. So by default that's just the name of the PlayStation with today's date. And then we're going to go down to backup and press X. And then this is going to go away now and it's going to prepare backing up. So to do that, it reboots down into a very special backup mode. And if you've got a lot of data on here, it can take a while. So 185 gig of data is going to take approximately about 50 minutes, as you'll see when this comes up. We are using a USB 3.0 hard disk drive. Of course, the PS4's USB ports on the front are USB 3.0 compliant, so it's going to allow the quickest method. Again, you can see there that you get that same message about storage device cannot be used. That's referring to our NTFS partition. As you can see there now though, it's found our FAT30 or our exFAT partition we just created on the computer, and it's now backing up. So those minutes left will tick down. They do start off a bit high. As I say, this is going to take approximately around 50 minutes to completely back up. So we're going to go away and we're going to leave this to do, and we'll come back once it's finished. Right, so once everything's finished, you will find this little screen here waiting for you. It will tell you that the backup's complete and that the PS4 is about to restart. You'll see the name of your backup there, and the size, which of course is 185.4 gig in our case. It says press the PS button to use the controller, so we'll do that. And then we'll hit the OK button. And that will reboot the PlayStation now back into OS. Okay, so we'll load the default user account back in. And there we go. So we have a full backup of our hard drive now installed on that USB storage device. So we have everything that we need off there now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to power the machine off completely. And now we've done that, we can get to replacing the hard drive in our PS4 with our brand new one. So we're going to cover both the existing machines and the newer 1200 series as well. So stay with us and we'll go do that now. Right, okay, so now we've got all our data off our PlayStation, we actually need to make sure that we can get our new hard drive into our existing unit. Now, obviously, there are now two versions of PlayStation on the market. There's the older original one, and there's the new so-called lighter, quieter, more efficient version, of course. Now, the easiest way to tell these two apart, well, providing you haven't got a limited edition one, is to actually look at the tops. If you've got a glossy top, chances are you've got an older original version. If you've got the matte top, so this little third of the case there is not glossy, then you've probably got a newer one. So the easiest way of telling is to actually flip the machine over and take a look down here, and you will notice that you have a string of text which begins with CUH, and then it has some numbers after it. If that number starts with 1, 2, so 12, then you've got a newer version. And as you can see, this one is without the glossy top. Whereas this version, being one of the older ones, this one's actually a 1003A, so it starts with 10 or 10. And as you can see with this one has the glossy top. So this is an old one, and they are very similar, but they are slightly different. So we'll start with the original, because chances are this is what most of you have. So what you do is you get the palm of your hand, and you basically rock it forwards like that. So you just put some pressure with the base of your palm and slide it towards the edge of the machine. Lift it up from the front and away, and you can see there now the top is free, and our hard disk drive lives just here. There is a little screw there in the bottom left corner, which is bigger than the others, and you'll notice the triangle, X, square and circle logos on there. You will need to undo that screw with your sort of mid-sized posi drive screwdriver. Put that screw safely to one side, and you'll notice now you can slide the hard disk clear of the machine. You need to remove 1, 2, 3 and 4 posi drive screws. The hard drive will then slide out, and your new drive can slide back in. So we'll do that now. As you can see now, that just slides clear. Your new drive slides and sits in. Put those 4 screws back in, and then the hard drive caddy, once you've screwed it all back in, slots back in there like that. The PlayStation logo screw then goes back in the corner, and the glossy plastic top hooks in at the back, sits over the front like that, and then just tap it shut and you're done. So that is if you have one of the original 1003 or 1116A PS4s. If you have one of the newer ones, this is what you need to do. So for the slightly newer revision, it's very, very similar. It's the same procedure to remove the end cap. So where the light pipe, you know, the light that's normally white when you have your machine powered on is, you just get the base of your palm in that little groove, and like I say, you rock it out towards the left side of the machine. So for the slightly newer revision, it's very, very similar. It's the same procedure to remove the end cap. So where the light pipe, you know, the light that's normally white when you have your machine powered on is, you just get the base of your palm in that little groove, and like I say, you rock it out towards the left side of the machine. Right, okay, so we have our hard drive now installed into our PlayStation. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to attach the USB storage device, which we prepared earlier with the 3.15 firmware update in our case. As I say, at the time of watching this video, it may be a later version now, but at the time of recording, that's the latest one. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that into the first spare USB slot, and then we're going to attach our controller by USB to port 2. We then power the machine on. And of course it will reboot because there's no firmware on the hard disk at the moment. There's no operating system files on there at all. Of course it is completely blank. So the machine attempts to start, realises there's nothing there, and then reboots down into safe mode, which is what we're going to get now. And as you can see there, it says cannot start the PS4. Connect the DualShock using the USB cable and press the PlayStation button. So we're going to go ahead and do that. You will see now that you're prompted to connect that USB storage device with the current version firmware. So go across to OK and press X. Okay, so that's going to go away now, and that's going to take a couple of moments. Once it does, you may see a message with regards to having the drive initialized, and all data will be lost. Say OK to that, but that's going to take a couple of moments. As I say, with this being the 800 odd meg version of the update, it's quite beefy. The PlayStation does quite a few checks against the image to make sure it's valid before it's flashed. So this can take 5-10 minutes or so. So go away, make yourself a cup of tea, come back, and once we're at the next stage, we'll pick it up from there. Right, okay, so this is where you're going to find it now. So it says the PS4 will be initialised, all users and data will be deleted. Are you sure you want to continue? You're going to go across and say yes to that. And depending on the size of hard disk that you've put in there, this might take a little while as well, because this is going to go away and format it. So this is a 2 TB drive we're installing onto this PlayStation 4. And you can see now that we're preparing to update the system software. Okay, so the console will now reboot into the usual software update, as you'll have seen a few times before. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to let that run through, and then once it's completed it will reboot, and hopefully it's going to take us into the initialization screen. So we're just going to let this run through so you can see what it does. Okay, so the machine's going to reboot now, and it should present us with the first one initialization screen. Okay then, and here we are. So, of course we already have the controller connected by USB, so we're going to go ahead and hit that. And then we're just going to run through these bits and pieces. Okay, and you'll notice there now we have the default user 1 account. And you can see now we have pretty much a blank slate there. And this is pretty much how your PS4 would have looked out of the box. And you notice your profile is just completely blank and there's nothing there. If we go down to settings now and storage management, you'll see we have 1.77 terabytes total, with the free space there down at 1.76. We've got nothing there at all, which is to be expected. So we're going to remove the USB stick and we're going to insert our USB hard drive, which we backed everything up to. Okay, and now we are going to go down to System. And we're going to go down to the Backup and Restore option. We're going to restore our PS4. Okay then, so now we've run through that, we're going to reboot our PS4. So we've gone through the initial configuration, we're happy everything's back as it should be. We've reconnected our USB hard disk drive. And now we're going to reboot. So of course we get the PlayStation logo as we would expect. And this time you'll see it looks a bit more like a standard boot. You'll still get that USB storage device message, don't worry about that one. That's referring to our other partition on that disk. So we're going to go across to settings and we're going to go down again to system. And we're going to go down to backup and restore. And we're going to restore PS4. And you'll notice now, of course, that we get the option to select the backup data, which is the one, if you remember the name of our backup, of course, and you can see there our PS4 name and the date of the backup there and the size at the other side are displayed, so we can easily identify it. So we want to hit X on that one, and as you can see there now, it says the system will be restored with the backup data you selected. When you start restoring, the PS4 will be initialized and all users and all data will be deleted. So after that, the PS4 will be restored using the backup data. So basically, anything that you've done to this machine since installing the OS and actually reconfiguring it will now be lost, and it's going to go back to as it was before we swap the hard drive, which of course is what we want. So we're going to say yes to that big restore option. And as you can see there now, it says PS4 will be restored. After restoration starts, the PS4 will not return to the current state, and are you sure you wish to continue? So this is your last chance. If you've got anything on there that you didn't have on the previous drive, you know, that you've since maybe downloaded, or, you know, user accounts that you may have created on your new disk, you are going to lose those. So make sure that you get those off as well if you need them. But in our case, of course, we're happy to go back to our previous version because that's exactly what we want. So we're going to go across to yes, and we're going to hit the X button. And now it's going to go back down into that same backup and restore mode we were in earlier. But this time, rather than backing up data from our from our hard drive to our USB drive, this time we're going to go from our USB drive back to our brand new 2 terabyte disk. So as you can see there now, we're getting the message that it's preparing to restore. So this is initializing our PS4 hard drive once more. So it's going to go away and format the disk. At this point it may disconnect your controller. If you do wish to cancel out of the procedure, then you will just need to power it back on and go and hit the circle button to cancel and boot back out to the fresh OS install again. But as I say, if we're happy that we want to restore this back to current state, then just leave it be. So we'll pick this up at the end once this preparing to restore is finished, and we'll take a look at the next step. It beat me to it. Okay, so as you can see there now, it's actually restoring data from our backup, and you can see there now that it's going to take it around 70 minutes. It'll probably take it, to be honest, about the same amount of time it took it to back it up. So expect to take it for 185 gig, around 50 to 60 minutes. And as you can see there now, that's happily restoring back. So we're going to pick this up towards the end, and then once it's restored, we'll see what we get. And hopefully everything is going to be back as it was, but this time on our nice shiny new 2 terabyte disk. Right, okay, so once your restore completes, eventually your PS4 will reboot itself. And again, you can ignore that message in the top corner. That's because we've still got our hard drive attached, of course, with the backup data on it. So we're going to remove that front USB now. Okay. So our hard drive is now out of our front USB port. So let's try and see if all our data is moved across. And there we go. So as you can see, that's the avatar for the main user account there. And I know I've blurred the name of the user out there. And as you can see, the theme's back. The game data's all back. Profile. Okay, yeah, so it wants us to sign into its PlayStation Network, but go down to Settings. And now, of course, we go to System Storage Management. And you can see there that all our application data, capture gallery, application save data, themes and everything are back. We have 1.77 terabytes in total storage there at the top, with 3 1.58 terabytes left on this disk. And that's it. You know, that's as difficult as it gets. So what we've done there today is we have successfully upgraded our PlayStation hard drive from 500 gig up to 2 terabytes, and we've transferred all our data and everything across in one fell swoop. So all that's left to do now, boys and girls, is enjoy a happy gaming session on it. And what we're going to do, of course, we're going to turn this off and hand it back. So thanks very much for joining me, and I will see you on the next vid.